succeed in understanding the insightful content that can make people. We awaken and clarify a lot of things that ordinary people often wonder about. Simple arguments but also necessary. A lifetime to live. Too many truths that you have never understand clearly. Only when you experience it can you feel deeply. Receive a class of people who can control another class because they holding secret thoughts and rules. The rules of the game that the rest of the have never known. The law of goodness and evil is only a bridge between the two sides of the order. Is something created by strong people and people weak to obey. This video needs more than 1 hour to watch, but it takes a whole day to penetration and a lifetime to feel through. Understanding it can change the life of you forever. This content is very challenging thinking, so take the time to calm down. Listen seriously. I know that your life is very busy, even though what I'm saying isn't easy to absorb, is very difficult to master if you only listen once. My advice is to watch to the end. Listen to it over and over again. When you are free or doing household chores, please share and save the playlist too. More convenient for you, I'm sure. Within a few short months of thinking, your will grow exponentially to a altitude. New ancient art. Greetings to you and the from childhood to adulthood. No one tells you what is a human being, what is human nature. You have the most contact with humans, but also the strangest to people. From anthropology has always been a subject. Learn the esoteric lore of kings and nobles. Has never been widely disseminated. Anthropology is a system of thought, has long been sealed off and deliberately covered up. Hiding it is the secret of life and loss that people success never reveals to you. It is reserved for themselves and passed on to their children and grandchildren. Why you're hurt by someone else, scammed, why you're stuck in emotionally being taken advantage of, why you have trouble towels in a difficult money-making life, why are you betrayed and deceived. Both of these are often due to a lack of your understanding of humanity is not here. Must be an exaggeration, and soon I will explain things one by one to your children. Humans are a herd of animals. Put on Van Min's shirt. All of them are easily lost and caught up in general trends of society. You have know why priests in the West are called shepherds. They are instructor and shepherd of the animals. Lost sheep in any age. There are always two systems of knowledge, outside the room and knowledge inside the room. Extracurricular knowledge teaches you how to become into an obedient sheep that is still wise. Indoor awakening is a strategy, and humanity tactics are only for kings and rich people. They keep internal knowledge for themselves and children and grandchildren who are never publicly intellectual. Outside the room, it is beautifully decorated to spread to the crowd in order to make they obey and obey. History changes, but there is one thing never change. 90% human are always exploited. If there are no sheep, what will wolves eat without people? What will the rich eat if they are poor? Rich people will teach their children about humanity and intrigue, while the poor only know how to take their children to technical classes. Your child can dance well, but finally, just to make the pastime for rich. Even if your child has a high score, everywhere is just a screw of the enterprise karma that devotes day and night to rich people. Even if your children learn skills, different ways of making their money, when grow up like a girl. Increasingly serving customers only serves new guests. Earn money as long as they don't serving customers, there is no money. Rich people who understand who they are, mommy. They control a large number of prostitutes. Prostitutes take everything from you to make a profit. Give themselves money whether they have customers or no, while you and your child become sheep of the rich. From ancient Chikim, there is always an immutable law of laborers. The mind will rule the workers. Hands and feet will rule this world. Not a world of impostors, nor is it the world of people. Power, that is the world of people. Understanding of the humanity of money and power. Force will change, but humanity is the never changed from the past too. Now, if you still use cognition, vague and unclear experience to behave like that, if you haven't yet achieved, what if your life is suffering, stuck, and you can't move forward towards previous? If you want to escape the fate of being others' control and are trapped in the bottom layer of the food chain, Don't take your eyes off. This truth about humanity will be revealed. For you, and the humanity strategy will be, you will completely see the tricks of bad people and imposters created in this world, and we will teach you how to deal with them because of us. We'll help you discover the traps behind. After the so-called moral benevolence, you will have a good understanding of how to make your child or you yourself become a wolf standing on a high pole. Food chain, as we will decipher the tricks that many people are manipulated, control secrets that the ruler does not never reveal, is about to be held by you. How you perceive human nature, how to form when you first say hello. Your life is like a blank sheet of paper, pure, no thought, no conception, without awareness and without value judgment from birth to when you learn the language and start perception of the world has a period of time, long periods in which the people you meet will be different, and your life will also change the people you meet, including but not limited to your parents, teachers, neighbors, friends, public opinion, concepts from books, customs, and movies. Van Jung television people you meet have written different rages on that pure white paper set, a scary way. Your thoughts are not your own thoughts that are sown and planted by the people around him. Since you are still young, the biological gene is due to migration, and the ideological gene is due to being sown by the husband. Remember, when you were a child, the teacher teaches you to recognize human literacy like that which teacher will write a person on the board, then asks you to read it over and over again, and went home to copy it 10 times even though it was years. Pass as long as someone writes the letter, you will not hesitate to read correctly that word. Now imagine if at that time, write ghost characters instead of people. How can you read this far? Do you feel a little startled without repetition? Constantly repeating that is how you continue. Receive ideas from people who are interested in around, and gradually they are deeply ingrained in the brain. Friends who become similar to people around them have the same way of thinking and acting, and that quietly shapes the idea and personality of you, end up leading to price judgment, your control of everything in life. Sure that if you read the word into a ghost letter, that will not be dangerous harm. But if you were in the first place cultivating the wrong thoughts, that deviation will become a guide map for your life. Try to imagine what happens when you use or copy wrong things to orient your life. That's scary in nature, since starting school everyone is affected, and brainwashing you are a copy of people around and are copies of the collective of. Philosopher Han Long has a famous saying, pay attention to the thoughts of, because they will become the words of. Pay attention to your words because they will become your actions. Pay attention to your actions because they will become your true. Pay attention to your habits because they will become your personality. Pay attention to your personality, your way, because it will eventually become into the fate of you. In short, your thoughts will determine your destiny. This is the power, the terrible power of the ideological gene. Thoughts of class and private genes. Thought there was also a secret class after a ruling class. The other class is where they belong. Different ideas and concepts. The idea of the wolf creates the wolf's thought of. The sheep create the sheep of the rich people's thoughts, creating rich people and people's thoughts. Poverty creates poor people. If you were born in the US, you'll be familiar with Christmas, and if you were born in Vietnam, you will familiar with the Lunar New Year. Is still a human being, but when it is cultivated different thought genes, they will have different behaviors and ways of life. When the thoughts of the people around him are you from childhood to adulthood, think that you are deeply ingrained into your brain. Even if you use paper, it is also difficult to erase thoughts. The deeper into the mind of anything that you think is right about, the final thought will become your personal reality. It may even be an unconscious manifestation of subconscious mind, as in the theory of the house psychology. Freud's human consciousness is shaped later in the same language and text is the means to form it, because so the mother tongue of dialects and habits. Accustomed to talking of a person who often has the opposite influence on the party's ideology. They are at the core. The difference between people with others and differences in perception is due to the thought gene that they have inherited. Inheriting people's ideological genes and repeat the person's behavior. Normally, There will only be one life, normal, and the result will be nothing. Difference wants to get the right result first. It is necessary to have the right behavior to have an action. The right thing to do is first of all to have an idea. Right. What is the second circuit of thought? Is the point of view of values and perceptions, deep in the subconscious of. Please emphasize that this is not, means the people around you from. When you were a child, treat you badly, they just thought that they were communicating to you the right things. They are the someone who loves you like a parent or teacher. People who always think they're doing the best thing for you because they have lived so long and think they are more experienced, but they don't realize that they are also victims of ignorance about humanity and society, and they have no mind, wisdom on human strategy and conclusion. Since you were born, you have begun to be taught from many sides, and you have recognized people and human judgment based on the perception that have been sown, implanted in your head. This is the process, forming an early understanding of people and the humanity of you to more than 95%. Most people, the notions that you accept are all, comes from Confucian thought that has been propagation and continuation throughout, over the past 2,000 years. So I don't. It's strange when what I share is betrayed so much. Please review the comments on contents related to humanity. Mine you will. Understanding Confucian thought is the same as the dish needs water to be delicious. I don't cover it. Get water. But if your mind is too a lot of water, now you need a little more salt. So what is salt here for the majority? Those who only received a Confucian education. Salt is the study of humanity and the right to learn as mentioned above. The master really knows how to cultivate a lot ideology, and they also know how to flexibly change these ideologies in different situations. 2 rules. Humanity is only known to a few people under. These are the truths that very few people know, and they can make you not comfortable. But this is all the truth from small to big. What you hear and seeing is actually just a pretense. In society, there are 2 sets of rules, one of which is daytime rules and a set is the rule. At night during the day people say the words or beautiful meaning expressing humanity and morality, and each of them prove to be a prince. But when night falls, when no one sees anyone, some people start doing things unable to reveal the light. There are daylight rule users only to do cover when night falls. The person who begins to act silently according to the rule of darkness, while the others are spoken of by the always spoken. Moral righteousness and deception still only know compliance with daylight rules, and therefore that this class has been poor all their lives. Dominate the other class because they hold secret ideas and game rules play that the other class doesn't know about. Yin, one yang, one white, one black makes up. The world is colorful, and in the commune, association of 2 sets of rules corresponding to 2 systems. Confucian thought is Zhuang Men Bok White. The policy of good people is known widely by the masses, and the Dharma family is the dark shadow. People who are inherently evil are used by people at the level. The upper class understands these 2 ideologies. Completely opposite is the same as the difference between 2 animals in the wild, wolves and sheep. From small to large, what you being taught in school is a board rule. What the people around you are teaching is all Confucian ideology. Yes, they don't want to tell you about the nighttime, that because they usually don't knowing its existence again. Please emphasize that your thoughts, not your thoughts, but what has been done by the people around you, instilled from a young age of your humanity from the beginning, is formed by what people, surroundings and the transmitted habitat teach you. Next, you need to understand history of the 3 schools of Confucian great thought, Dharma and Taoist masters. You may be wondering that why go back in time and recounting such a lengthy history, because want to understand the truth about your humanity, it is necessary to understand the basic structure of the commune. The wisdom society has existed for thousands of years. Without an objective view of the calendar, it will be very difficult for you to understand the thoughts that we have been taught over the past decades, and even more difficult to lift the curtain on the truth of humanity. Secrets that can never be. The preaching of the elite is about to be revealed to you. Let's start with the solution. The easiest to understand about private schools. The idea of ancient China. I believe everyone knows many outstanding ancient philosophies. More modern, this is a special thing. Strange if you talk about abundance and nutritional levels of ancient food, not equal to the present. In terms of the complete knowledge system, Ancient correction is not equal to modern if considering on the level of evolution of the ancient brain is also not as modern if we talk about numbers. The number of ancient people was only a few tens of millions. Modern people have billions of ancient people is also not as modern as it can be said below. All modern conditions and elements complete victory compared to ancient, but why the outstanding people of the ancient? It is more modern than it was in ancient times. Aristotle, Socrates, Platon, Lao Tzu, Confucius, Han Feizi, Mengzi, Demon Cup. Dead such outstanding people can be counted while modern. There are fewer and fewer good people. Even the whole world is proposing to learn from the ancients to explain why people. Modern, not many outstanding people. As the ancients, we would have looked at the ancient Asia for closeness. The first step is to find. The first clue is from ancient times to the present. In what period did there appear many exporters? I think everyone has. Guess yes. That's the period. Spring and autumn warring states. Why do outstanding people appear the most in the spring and autumn war period? Quack Quack answered that it was due to the war when hundreds of countries, large and small, have fought. Every day each country studies how to destroy them, then use writing to record the. This method has not become. What are the outstanding ideas? Why did ancient times have so many thinkers? Is due to the war, and why modern? There are not many thinkers. That's because we're living in a time of great relative peace in the era war to win them. We need great thinkers. In an era of peace for development, we need a lot of tech talent. All more next we will talk about the period. Spring and autumn warring states, an era of exploded in thought. How to apply the ideas of these schools into our karma. I know there aren't many people who can clear explanation of the Confucian jurist Taoists of the schools that have ruled the thousands of years of feudalism. I will use the simplest way to explain. Make sure everyone understands what you have. Can feel that there are a lot of private thought that in these schools. Know where to start to understand them really. Very simple. These schools only divided into three major categories you understand well. These three types, everything else you will understand. At that time the private schools thought there were three main doctrines and three studies. This main theory, they have different attitudes for transmission. The first main doctrine system boots. Traditional households believe that tradition. This is really indescribably good. The second type is to abandon tradition. They believe that this tradition is really bad. The third type has an attitude of not caring. Their minds may ask what the tradition is. Is it edible? Is it good or bad? What does it care about me? Three other attitudes. This corresponds to the Dharma and Taoists of other schools. You can consider them as some variation of the three. This school of thought, because of the attitude towards with tradition, there are only these three possibilities. We can rephrase the three attitudes in three ways more obvious than the second attitude. The most supportive tradition is also known as, they believe that the reason humans do broken everything is because they've moved away from transmission. The measure today is that we must quickly return to transmission. This is the attitude of grapes. The second attitude is to abandon the system, is also known as new declaration. Not to be happy, but to create a new future. They believe that the reason things being corrupted by humans is because of humans has not yet given up difficult traditions. Bear that the current measure is to make an effort to create. The latest rules are the attitude of jurists have both of the above attitudes. Positive and progressive spirit is just. The solution they came up with was completely contrary, because Confucianism and France all come from the Central Highlands, where there is large population and complex order. If do not use the spirit of entering the world, you cannot solve the problem. But in the region, vast land, sparsely populated, mountains and rivers, many of Jingzhou appeared. A completely different attitude is an attitude. The first attitude is to bow down to the second. The second is the new declaration, and the third is the emergence of the world. Is not a form of out of the box. This means escaping from the mundane. This is the attitude of the Taoists. They think the reason everything is ruined is because too many thoughts about participating in worldly. If you don't pursue this worldly object, will instantly feel. See how big this world is. Even though is tradition good or useful No Taoist thinks that is not. Practical importance not only in the neck. You just saw these three attitudes. But right away, all today when we are faced with the problem is that we also often have three tie. The next analogy we will solve. Prefer more details about the three schools. Hey, let's talk about grapes first. Confucius said that the ancient restoration method. This means that we must refrain from all kinds of impulses, their own work on demand, of the traditional ritual left has. Only then can you achieve high thoughts. Of the old grapes we all know. Warring states period when people fought. Very fierce is also an era of ritual collapses, chaotic music if still. Following this ritual will seem a bit stiff. So at that time Confucius went to countries to market products. The monarchs looked at the whole. The day of the training was not in time to practice the ritual so that at that time Confucius and Meng, they couldn't find a job. In doing so we can draw a basic conclusion that grape skin is ineffective. In times of war where black cats, or a white cat that catches a mouse, are good cats. Now let's take a look. The Dharma family's point of view is, these people have a disease, the idea of grapes. Your guys are too old-fashioned. Everyone are all fighting non-stop. Ideas of you is clearly useless. That is still spreading throughout the era. Have completely changed the people you don't. Seeing the change of the times, must follow the tradition of the past. The basic person is a bunch of miscellaneous books. I can't succeed. I just know how to do it. For this world of chaos everyone have heard the story of hugging the tree and waiting for the rabbit already. But it is from Han Fei's work, Death of a Typical Figure of the Dharma Family. Han Fei means that you want to use ancient methods for modern management, is basically a stupid act like waiting for the rabbit under the tree. The magician thought, what should be done to enrich and strengthen the country? Families need to use the law to replace the doubt. You see, in that era, legal reform has become popular in countries of any country that reforms. How that nation will become as powerful as the harm of initiation. These Dharma figures have emerged on the political stage of that era. To be able to implement the law better, the king must know how to use magic, cunning to control people. This is the main, are the three treasures of the magician, that is, the law, power, and love. The art of manipulating people. The emperor began to be built from the time of. This is interesting because the magicians usually are welcomed in the country even if they are, or the Li family. They are all successful in other nations because the emperor needed old French officials and they have no. In the country like that, it is possible. Obey orders if the emperor using Kwang to return the magicians from their own country. There will be several bases in these people. Is too knowledgeable about magic. Easy to become the object of fear of the emperor. Afraid of those who leave their homeland like leaves. Drifting alone. All fame and their wealth depends on the emperor. The emperor and the emperor like the most were the people who. So the magician can only do. So it's a big deal in another country. You see, many companies, when they want to reform, will look to external consulting teams. Why? Because they are not afraid to offend others. They don't work in the company. Need to face them every day. In our opinion, let's talk about the Taoist umbrella. What do the family and the Dharma family think? But from the perspective of a Taoist background, from the Qinghai region, they think that the people, Trungwen, is too caught up in things. It is not worth the Taoists to believe that life, there is only so much in the world that is worth it. Struggle. This attitude of theirs is very escaping. Custom is very clearly expressed in a sentence. The story of Trang Tu Trang Zi has a friend named Hu Ti who is a redundant general in the country. When Zhang Zi passed by his sleep, planning to visit Hu Ti, there are people who have whispered to Hu Ti that Trang Tu Lai, this is to occupy the position of Prime Minister of. After hearing this, Huaishi was very worried and came out, ordered his subordinates to hunt down Zhang Zi throughout the country for 3 days and nights to chase grandfather. When he heard this news, Zhang Zi took the initiative, came to see Hu Ti and told him a sentence. The story of a phoenix flying from the south to the North Sea on the way. If it is not a field corn plant, it is not. Stop and rest. If not the fruit of bamboo trees, it doesn't eat. If it doesn't, it has to be fresh spring water. Then it doesn't drink. As a result, on the way it met an owl. The cat just picked up a dead owl mouse. The cat saw the phoenix and immediately wanted to scare away, afraid that the phoenix will rob you. His dead mouse. After telling the sentence, Zhang Zi looked at Huaishi and said, you think I covet the position of Prime Minister very much. Why did Zhang Zi leave? You must know that Huishi is also not a person. Mediocre philology Fu and Gu X Huck. The 5 main books are to describe Hu. So about the Taoists we don't need. What more must I say? This story has enough to show the stout and escape from the world of the Taoists. So according to the Taoist, how to handle everything well in the first world. Other typical figures of the Taoist family. He will ask you what to do. On the contrary, the worst thing is that people like you just want to do everything, who thinks that by being as blind as so it can make the world a better place. But the reality of the world is precisely because people like you do. The Taoist believes that the current solution is to ignore the thought of having to do something too. Everything happens naturally to the world and people are free to operate and things will carve yourself better. Look at nature. For thousands of years, no one has managed it. It's still good. This is the Dharma. Naturally, the rule of the Taoist of China and neighboring countries, the past thousands of years have been nothing more than, is based on this Persian wall. Confucianists, jurists, and Taoists in enterprises we should apply as how the first step we need to understand how the Confucianists and Taoists applicable in calendar dynasties history. If we can understand how the empire, China for thousands of years has used this school, we can use them effectively in the karma of during the spring and autumn warring states period. There are hundreds of small and large countries fighting, including the 7 major countries. Han Wei Qin's Jiayan department. We all knew that in the end it was Qin Shi Huang who had defeat other nations in complete unity. Let's talk about the reason Qin can unify China in. At that time, the scale of the war was very large. For kings, the improvement of the nation's war to become the most important strategy of the country. Confucianism, 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 Confucianism. Ideas that can improve the effectiveness of the war. Then the king will choose to apply the I thought there was no doubt about the Dharma. Have the most advantage in improving the efficiency of the great war is too old-fashioned. Taoists pursue liberation. The scribe said to the kings, the media is no longer useful. Need to change. Want to be rich and strong. Must be improved. The way before reform in a country. The social status of a person who is decided by their lineage, i.e., nobles in one life after another are still precious. The poor people of this world died. Others are still poor people. This unable to stimulate the desire to fight of people, especially those who can't like the wishes of the people of the strata, low grade. Therefore, the Dharma family thinks that it should be changed. This becomes the social status to be determined by the number of people you carry. About the word captain and standard line. The right to retreat to one. When this mechanism is applied, it has become very effective in stimulating all people who compete in combat, and the effectiveness of the war has been significantly improved. Since the jurist came up with this set of logic, other countries start following the reform model. Huawei was the first real country. Currently, that reform is a well-known reform of Li Kuei before the reform of Wei, also very weak after the reform they immediately, that is, becoming a defeated superpower. Qin Dynasty at that time had not yet reformed. The other countries see this situation. There is no other way they can start reforming Wei, and gradually the advantages of Wei also. The loss of Wei's weakness is not only due to external factors but also due to the king living in Hu Qingwang's self-corruption because he refused employers who are looking for a job in sleeping merchant unable to find a job. I had no other way to sleep, so I ran to Qin to work, and since then there has been reform. Famous of merchant Qin applied Frenchman logic to the extreme, though Qin was the latest country to reform, but they rose and finally finished. Integrity. Most here, you should understand why the debate between the last schools lost to the magician, but after Qin unified the world, they continued to use the logic of the legalists, and only after a few years have collapsed. So what is the reason for this? The answer is very simple: because Qinji reform of the Ministry of Commerce with the main goal is to improve the effectiveness of warfare. Paintings are not very good. They rely on into the plundering of other nations to nurture yourself. When Qin is unified, the people of other countries have been destroyed. Kill, so who else do they rob? And of course, the court still needs money to spend, and the Kuang also needs work. In this situation, Dan only had how to exploit people to nurture. This is very easy to recognize, and such a mode is definitely impossible. Existed for a long time, so the Great Qin collapsed. In the next second generation was the Han Dynasty. After the Qin Dynasty, after the western province Wu occupied the world, he divided territory. This is a stupid act of rank Wu everyone can imagine. When rank Wu divides the world, will there must appear the warlords again. For the logical warlords of the French, why can it be applied? Because they may go and plunder countries again. Other results. We all know the end. The same Liu Bang has once again ruled Nietian. So bosses, remember that we can use the logic of the magician to occupy the world, but we are great. Cannot use the logic of the French to rule the world. This is what people often say. It can be quick, occupy the world, but can't be fast, quickly rule the world. After Liu Bang, unify the world. You are very clear. If continue to follow the line of the Dharma family, will definitely follow in the footsteps of Qin's dumpling car. Therefore, Liu Bang abandoned French thought of the Qin dynasty. He thought forever and finally chose the thought of the false Taoist. People will definitely be surprised. Why did the state choose the idea of the pseudo-Taoist? I will analyze to help you understand. You see Qin Shi Huang unifying the heavens. He is a rich second generation. Fun He Dai relies on the accumulation of the group. When he became emperor, and who else in this country dares to confront him? So Qin Shi Huang is sure dare to follow the line of the Dharma family to fight. Let's look back at Liu Bang. We all knew before Liu Bang floated. He is a nomadic citizen. The state fought with a group of brothers to occupy the world. So strict. But Liu Bang and this group of brothers don't. Must be a relationship between superiors and subordinates. But the same relationship as in front of the Liu Bang brothers. There is no overwhelming power, so we understand that Liu Bang chooses Wu Wei to rule the Tao is really a choice without a choice. Choose more. After Liu Bang becomes emperor, he also divided two parts into three. The territory of the country for the people. Partner. Hey, look here. I know everyone, surely there will be questions as to why rank Wu divide the lords. They will be destroyed by Liu Bang. Liu Bang also divided the warlords, but those warlords didn't come to attack. We need to be clear, a little bit of Liu Bang's division is just temporary reluctance and due to the development of many techniques and sources. This allows Liu Bang to be able to the ability to inherit the system of the dynasty. Qin. For example, merchants once had a law. If there are two people in a family, mature men who have not yet separated family, the tax of that family must be doubled. There are also regulations for all. The village must be a village with different surnames, not allowing people to live with them together with the purpose of this is to completely disrupt society. Divide the big clans into clans. Stop. Such a small cost for the kings to receive. This lord organized a civil force against has become very high. This is especially conducive to the rule of the emperor. So, the basic reasons why the Han Dynasty can last hundreds of years is because they have inherited many systems of the Qin Dynasty. This is called the Han Dynasty. So the bosses, when the power of managers under your command you get bigger and bigger, need to disperse the power of these persons under them to divide the power. Force out of this is conducive to the management of the fact that Liu Bang chose to be indifferent, but only is a reluctant choice in front of strong partners. After to the throne, Liu Bang spent 8 years to eliminate all the kings who God can threaten to. When the empire had just ended the war, painting people tired and unbearable, it's time to recover everything. He chose Wu Wei to rule the Taoist family, resting with the people who understand in a way. Simply, oh, everyone is tired and I'm going to. Don't be too strict anymore. Get a good rest for a few decades. But even if you rest, you have to be diligent, working for economic development. Indeed, after a few decades the country has entered the period of Tai Bintin. The first is called the literary period. Scenes of people discovering that, in special times, managing anything becomes a way better management. When the Han Wu emperor ascended, the 7th emperor of our Han Dynasty, all knew that he was a talented emperor and far-sighted in Chinese history, and certainly the infinite method of the Taoist family is not suitable for him. So, Emperor Han Wu could only choose between the Confucian family and the Dharma master to apply. We all know that the logic of the legalists is certainly not feasible, because if the Dharma family follows faced with the same end as the Qin dynasty. So he chose the best choice is grapes, and from there is a time, the famous period of the Han Wu emperor, with the abolition of the Confucian sects. From then onwards, going the basic form of the rule of Chinese emperors in the 2000 years have been formed, which is what we often call it the outer grape Dharma or yang grape yin. What does this mean? Other state propagation of Confucian thought to the people, like the three pillars, usually Nyan Nila tri-faith purposes, for people to comply with these rituals, convenient for imperial management, but in the specific system design is still follow the logic of the Dharma family, like this. For with the emperor, the use of the Dharma family to managing the people is also effective, and using grapes to comfort people also have reasons for achieving two goals at the same time. Hearing this, the bosses should have an answer. I want to manage a team of friends well. It is necessary to pursue the idea of Confucianism, superficial internal law using Confucian ideology, but the essence is to use the mechanism of Dharma when you are at the startup stage. Don't think about it, just use it. Think that the magician you see Chen Guo doing it like that. You just follow it in the startup paragraph as long as there is no infringement. Morality and law. Collect a fee. Crazy way in the play phase. This strong development should not be too much. Rules and restrictions that allow the team of you are free to promote each person's talent. As the saying goes, it doesn't matter is a white cat or a black cat as long as it can. If you catch a mouse, it's only good cat. Let it. Pre-existing company. Already, if your company grows on, the bigger you need to use Confucianism. Think about it. If your company grows big, there are hundreds and thousands of people. If each person all have their own intentions, the rebellion. There is a saying that soldiers don't want to be generals, must be a good soldier. But everyone, have you ever thought about it? If each person, soldiers, want to become generals, people, is that champion afraid? When the company developed a large system has perfected what is most needed is the team's ability to execute, and the execution work does not require creative. For example, a job at KFC is potato frying time process, frying time chicken wings, oil temperature evenly, are strictly controlled work so it is necessary to comply without thinking. Think if each of your employees is very smart and have their own ideas and abilities, your execution will significantly reduce the use of history as an example. We can know that, and from that we can summarize 3 points applied to business management. The number one, karma in history is the only using Taoist thought is in the period. The context governs, so the bosses when doing business should not think about using the Taoist thought. Number 2, thought sprouts are important for cohesion of a business because it can cause the staff listens to the instructions for the work management. We can also understand as a corporate culture of the public. The third factor of the Dharma ideology determines the development of the business, because when doing external businesses always have competitors, competition and adversaries, so any time must use the idea of a jurist. The final conclusion is only the grandmother of the vineyard can really make a strong and growing enterprises. Need emphasize that between Confucian thought, Dharma, and Taoists have no thoughts which is higher or lower. The important thing is that suitable for the circumstances and times. When you train the right thoughts in the right place, at the right time and under appropriate conditions, that thought will bring out its maximum power. Confucius believes that human beings are inherently good and focus on communal responsibility. Principles such as the 3 principles, rewards, and the code of ethical conduct of grapes have the effect of motivating people, accepting responsibility to society, and maintain the harmony of the individual, their family, and commune. The magician society believes that human nature, and emphasis on results in the legal system of the French jurist, designed to stimulate potency of human beings to promote the expansion of and encourage people to make meritorious contributions. Career name. While the Taoist family, high thoughts of ignorance and dharma, nature advises us to live smoothly, naturally, take everything for granted. The Taoist thinks that we should rest before nature. Everything works according to the law of heaven and earth. the Confucian family, and Taoist can be applied to different stages of Qing's life. Suitable year to study Confucianism to complete into a middle-aged initial accumulation. Should cultivate a Dharma master to achieve a breakthrough. Destroy in the career, and when returning to pretend to be a person. We should cultivate Taoists to carry out missions. Destiny to let go. A truly excellent person is someone who can use both the 9 and left sides. They will using grape skins to treat good people and jurists to deal with bad people. Good is really a half-ambitious person. Tolerate the use of fake grapes to achieve happiness. The Dharma family to build the karma, and Taoism to live peacefully. Naturally, a truly excellent person is half Buddha, half ghost, and has the compassion of. Did the Buddha have the emperor's scheme? Lack of any element. Come back after passing through a series of analyses. You may be wondering whether the above content has anything to do with human nature or not. Don't worry. Soon I will unveil the truth about human nature you've never been. Know the thought of grape skin like a flower of power too. The philosophy of the jurist is like a martial artist. Life is a battle, but you only know how to punch and kick legs while rich in learning through martial arts. Because the following is true, that there are only a few people who have known for the past 5,000 years. Exist two ideological systems. One is based on the belief that human nature is good according to the religion of Confucius, and strong one is based on the view that the nature of the child people are bad according to the ideology of the French sect. Confucius's thought is complete. Is it true when it comes to Confucius? Many would think he was a saint, and I also recognize that the of Confucius really has great points. But in today's era there are many. Confucius's conception was clear. It is also suitable for us to learn from anyone, not blindly copying the whole thing, but must be learned critically. Good things and abandoning bad things. So the problem in Confucius thought was, the biggest problem is confinement. Human thinking in the thought of Confucius: women have no right to speak, not allowed to go to school, not allowed go out, and have no right to speak up. In the house, there is no death. Everywhere talking about the ceremony. Nitam gang and gu often divides children. People of different ranks. Don't go to the Grand Master. Don't go down. Offering means those who work as officials. Big mistakes don't need to be punished. Punishment only needs to be bound by ritual. While for the people, do not need to be treated with courtesy. If the low people who make mistakes will be sanctioned by. He is trying to protect the levels of slave society. Put forward the theory. Military history. The god of death. Immortality. Disloyalty. Death history from immortality to unfilial piety. Protect the power of piety. Asks the people. They must unconditionally obey every regulation of the monarchical power. Even when the emperor made a mistake, it was important. And the people must also obey. If otherwise, they will be considered a violation of the 3 pillars. The 5 ordinary rebellion does not make. The 4 of the people was closed without ability to think independently. The result is that the feudal dynasty was in decline and the emperor was me. Ignorant people are persecuted by countries. Foreign aggression and ideological oppression. Of Confucius, the main result of teaching sex is to make people know more and more. Listen to the rules of number. Acceptance. His inferiority is obedient. Thought that Confucianism said that human nature is good. They all talk about humanity and morality, and require each person to be treated with people around me in this way. That is the nobles, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. But, in fact, he believes that human beings are inherently. Kindness is finally rejected by people who falsely deceiving and believing in humanity. Germany was finally told by those who only spoke morality on the mouth but selfish hypocrisy, hurting kindness and righteousness. Germany. All these are just the kind of strikes that sound good, beautiful but unrealistic, while the real masters are all people. Stylish appearance but quietly practicing martial arts free of thought. Grapes are similar to colorful and favorable style attacks. The characteristic of Confucian thought is to say beautiful words or forms but not useful in real combat. This is the same as, just like the style of martial arts. Traditionally the majority of people are poor. It is because in their minds they all contain full of Confucius thoughts and strong mouth. Always say good arguments in the meantime. Rich people are rich because in their heads are filled with the thoughts of the French faction. It doesn't sound good, but it's very useful in real combat when the blows. Style fighting and freestyle martial arts confrontation. What will happen to each other? Many people must also have heard of or come across information about the tragic match of a great master. Traditional Chinese martial arts. His name is the Code. Bao Kwok fought a free fighter, amateur, ghost, and they had a match on the floor. Two people with a big difference in reputation and experience, and pre-match, the referee has repeatedly reminded the country must be light-handed, but only not yet. Full 30 seconds after the match starts, Code Bao Kwok was defeated by the opponent 3 times and finally fell down and couldn't get up, surprising the public. Traditional martial arts with a history of thousands. The previous year, the confrontation with martial arts was not, as a rule, it fails easily. So many people suspect Ma Bao is a false grandmaster. According to my Code, Bao Kwok Tui has a bit of bragging, but if I'm really a fraud, he's definitely can't participate in the match. This truth is any martial arts, any system when facing free martial arts can't stand this, must be disrespectful of traditional martial arts. But traditional martial arts are built on specific rules, i.e. the opponent must, according to a certain set of rules, to issue. Meanwhile, the rules of free martial arts without any fixed attacks item. The goal is to defeat the opponent completely. Martial arts tradition cannot win martial arts because it is the inevitable result of the blows, not in accordance with the rules of the arena. Modernly, the poor put all their efforts into overcoming it still because their mindset is not in accordance with the wealth fund of society. Many people in their minds are filled with Confucianism passed down for thousands of years with the superior L types of attacks. How N looks or looks like L. That was really the case in ancient times, because all people follow the rules of the world to give blows. Just stay at a sufficient level. As long as you are a nobleman, you will have a high position in society. But the rules of today's era have changed how you appear on the arena, because it doesn't matter if you are a clan or not, as long as you have money and strength. Strong, you are already an aristocrat who no one follows the rules of the nobility to strike again. So, your immediate defeat is the inevitability of French thought is like free martial arts with typical representatives such as Han Fei Tu. And Han Fei Tu said that the term basic relationship between people only based on benefits. He said that only need benefits even if the relationship is distant. Wherever you go, you can become close, but once the interests are hurt right away, both father and son can become enemies. No heaven. Same men up to the age of 50 still lustful, while his wife after the age of 30 has started. So the husband has a chance. Will definitely find the new person you think. Do you feel that it can be trusted? According to his view is that there is no man who doesn't want to have it. It's just because they didn't have enough capital to want. Han Feizi also said that in ancient times there was no what is the love between the emperor and the gods and sons. They often calculate each other's religion. Virtue and humanity are just empty words, and the benefits are the truth behind all. The whole idea of Confucianism is only effective when no conflict of interest. Just have disputes over ideological interests will be becoming useless when falling in love with thoughts. Grapes can be effective but after marriage, when the husband and wife have a dispute over interests. If you continue to follow the grapes only, know the other person well and give all the money for them, you will be vulnerable when your child, the little ones, you can follow the grapes out, but as your children grow up and you get older, if you continue to follow and share your talent, you will be very miserable when you come back to pretend to force others to be treated right for you is true morality. The expectation of others to treat them properly with you but can't bring any what benefits for them is only hypocrisy. Making grapes is an idealized dream, and the Dharma family is the path to that dream. Otherwise it's all just words. Tell the canoe what you hear and see. Seeing that it is all a game of heaven in this world is made up of 2 systems of order. The first system is the main fairness, moral meaning of the second system is a war of interests hidden behind the first moral unity of the second system. Especially the form of the benefits of the second system is the essence of knowledge that we are exposed to from small to large. Big is the formal rule of the system. First, people always calculate the benefits in the heart. That is the rule of the benefit of the second system of good people as first system users as a means to achieve the goals of secondary system. The two almost everyone wore themselves a glittering moral cloak, then find all the ways to benefit the rules themselves. Morality is the things that everyone say it out loud, and the rule of benefits is things that people remember in. So never let the system first make a fool of yourself, but use the second system to see through things that are not. Drought. We can't just look at what a person who speaks but must look at what they do. The first system is just one. Traps. You can't consider it a method to settle down and establish a successful and prosperous career. If you want to understand the behavior of each, you need to analyze based on the system. The second system is the method of dividing. Accumulating benefits is the main reason leading human activity, and the benefit analysis method will never obsolete. For example, there is an incident happening around. I once went out with Mr. Lam Kwang Nin because we have a lot of luggage and are not familiar with the locality. So, in the lobby of the hotel, Mr. Lam secretly give the service staff 500,000 tips to help him book his luggage later in the days that followed. That employee was very enthusiastic with us. Everything from the calendar, travel itineraries to luggage are arranged. Jota Dao. After returning in the lecture, he mentioned the case of and tell students that if you want to get someone's help, you must first understand that you have what can be provided for. They have no relationship other than interests arise between people who are far away. Money is the best way to express. 500,000 is not much, but it's more useful, much more than saying good words, sweet, or try to please in a way. Fake is the method of exchange. Value. Every time you encounter an incident, you need must be quickly divided into parties. Different benefits of each of your actions will hurt the interests of the rising AI. Benefits for who are the main gainers. Be your friends who are disadvantaged. Is your enemy. You need to distinguishing friendship and enemy relationships. That way there are no permanent friends, only permanent benefits. When benefits change, your enemies and friends as well will quickly change. The same in a company. Every decision is made. It is necessary to analyze whether that decision is appropriate, in accordance with the interests of who hurts whose interests. Parties with appropriate interests will certainly be into a community that shares benefits also. Parties whose interests are hurt will be sure shields form of alliance. LX. However, those two factions will definitely hold up the moral flag of the system. The first unity to fight for the goal. The benefit of the second system is that it's just that you didn't know before. The fact that you don't know the truth is not. That is, the truth does not exist. In Confucianism as a cult, the dominant sects of the people who have dominated thousands of years of history of this thought have eaten deep into the minds of the people to the point, since childhood, you have had to read and memorize its heart. The knowledge you access is mostly all about justice and morality, sincere and beautiful etiquette. You were taught that people who are kind and grateful, respect and noble virtue. Childhood. Most pulse relationships all around you are really pure and innocent, such as the affection between teachers and students, classmates, or first love. But have what you need to realize as a child termites. This relationship has almost nothing to do with great conflict of interest. That environment is the same. Like a world of glass cages in thought, giant is based on the fact that human capital is also effective. However, when you enter social relationships, start to relate to the benefits and become more realistic, then you'll see the behavior of human beings in stark contrast to what you used to know you might encounter. Friends have to borrow money without paying people. Love betrays partner flipping copper. Karma stabbed in the back. Even brothers and sisters. Siblings compete for property without to parents. These behaviors are completely contrary to the concept of humanity. Good capital that you have been taught since childhood to receive. Your consciousness of humanity begins to shake, and you fall into the agony of can't do good without being hurt. The essence of society is a world, the bloody jungle where the strong are weak. Losing is the only rule that cannot be changed. Change. Behind everything is a struggle, for the sake of human beings. After all, animals dressed in interactive clothes between people is basically a challenge. Each other's strengths and limits. From there, decide how to deal with human fear of strong and bullying the weak is the essence of mankind under the attraction of money, interests and power. Even friendship, love can also become so it is not reliable. Relying on survival is a life match. If you only use the flower of cultivation, while the head uses martial arts, freedom, you end up in the head will be extremely catastrophic. The slight. If you are full of weight, your body will be broken. As mentioned earlier, this world moves following two sets of rules. The second, especially about fairness, The 9 Meanings of Morality. The second rule of the American Truth Ritual is about the struggle for hidden interests. After the first rule of ethics and love, feeling is only superficial, while the second is about the new benefits that are the true nature. Since childhood, you have been in contact with mainly clogged surfaces while the people stood. Social leaders always calculate the rules of profit. In their minds, they often talk about religion, virtue and affection only to conceal benefits. Really that they are aiming for them to put on a beautiful shirt of morality and love, but silently seeking benefits for the. If you come here you still don't understand the wind, then I will say it more frankly. For more than 90% of normal people who have been influenced by the background Confucian education for decades of morality and affection has almost become a curse. They are difficult to overcome for a lifetime in. When for masters and impostors, moral and emotional hypocrisy is just tools and means for them to dominate. Other ways to break religious bonds. Virtue and affection will be deciphered by me in the next section. Be sure to check it out. The reason that most people are still poor, suffering is because their minds are full of thoughts. Confucius's thoughts only know how to talk about good morals and those who wealth is carried in the investment of ideas. Although the Dharma family does not sound pleasant, extremely effective in practice, recognizing people only based on interests. It only takes a glance to be able to understand. Throughout the perplexity of morality and affection, fake, while the weak are constantly being bound by non-existent things. Love friendship things don't be able to rely on it. Remember that this doesn't mean you shouldn't consider moral and emotional importance, that is don't let them become a burden of. The reason why the poor are still poor is because it is an inevitable result when thinking of a person who does not adapt to the social rules of truth help the world move is in the second set of rules. The first set of rules is just like the flute between the two of them. Sometimes when playing, talking to someone you're say nonsense and the other party is saying lies. Both understood that they were exchanging polite words but still say to seriousness. This is the second set of rules. Of course, society despite its development, it is necessary to respect the second set of rules, as considering it to be orthodox. This helps people not look too pragmatic, even though the truth is even real, is more useful than reality because beautiful things, new hope and positive energy, outward magnetic promotes good progress. Then the devil Kongzu, who lived at the same time as Confucius, the parachute possesses the talent of the heavenly cave. Geography still cannot be widely spread as Confucius. The reason for his death is because his theory belongs to regarding the second set of rules. Only the subset is suitable for silent use is not appropriate for openly go out to understand but not speak out is about the second set of rules. It can be used, but absolutely should not. Said those who benefit from it will also. Don't say falsely. This is a metaphor. In the study of humanity from an island perspective, reverse current social management structure, with the non-grape form in the French, used for thousands of years and still maintained to this day, veil over the truth of humanity, is gradually being unveiled. You need to awaken a concept of what the emperor, what the people learn and what the people learn, is the complete opposite of this. Must be repeated 3 times for the sake of importance. If you want to understand the human, decoding humanity and grasping humanity, you must follow 2 principles. Number 1, looks back dialectically. The thoughts you once thought were right. 2, begin to accept or at least not exclude thoughts that you previously thought. I need to emphasize that contrary thoughts that are not bad thoughts are like a sin knife. Fam used a knife to kill people and doctors using a knife to save Niet Nien Cheng people. The one-mindedness Buddha becomes a ghost. You can't saying that the knife has a faulty knife that does not have its good and evil. Good and evil depend on the value of the user's view of the same. Humanity is just a tool that doesn't exist. Good and evil understand humanity and obey humanity and grasp humanity. It will carry tools to help you advance, but if you oppose criticism or protest in terms of humanity, it will become a shackle. Inhibit the growth of my friend, I beg. Reiterating once again, understanding the dark side of humanity is to aim for the light of it. Seeing the evil of humanity is to maintain the goodness of the. So before officially stepping into the world of humanity full of changes, you have to solve a problem. The prerequisite is to reset the mindset. Be honest if you don't reset, thinking that you will find that anything related to humanity will be light, difficult to understand, difficult to accept, feel heavy, inflammable and extremely annoying. You won't able to absorb more than 1 pH of knowledge about the nucleus, humanity of the things you like, not what you really need. And the things you don't like are the main ones, are things you lack and need. Poverty. The scariest suffering is not lack, material deprivation, but thinking and cognition. Falling into material poverty can only poor for a while. But if the and poor perception that can be lasts up to 3 generations, you don't need to a huge fortune for the next generation. Just leave a vision for your children and grandchildren, a mindset and receive. It has been a legacy of poverty in thinking and cognition as a form of heritage. Whether the children want to or not, they still etched into their lives upside down. Thinking and cognition of wealth is also a form of heritage that only needs to be conveyed consciously. It will follow your children all the time. This is your most valuable asset, can leave them worth more than money, saving real estate, bonds or gold. But if you are ignorant about the human, what will you pass on to your children? Is it ignorance?